I've just pressed, so possibly.
Okay, I think this is recording. Right, let's dive into it.
Right. So this is the structure of the navigator.
Mm-hmm.
We have our initialization block, which takes our initial position, velocity, and attitude in the ECI frame and assigns it to begin the navigator's propagation, basically. And obviously, it happens at the first time step. And there's a lot of stuff going on with buses and placeholders of values that get pushed through the simulator at all times. So you can run through and find all the values that are sort of propagated in time through this navigator. So the velocity in ECI, the position, the attitude, longitude, latitude, all these happen, but they're every time, you know, a new time step happens, they loop through to allow the you know, the thing to continue in continuous form. And then we have currently two main processors. So we have the INS processor,
which I'm assuming is doing the integration and stuff.
Exactly, takes in the information from the IMU and uses that to propagate in time where we think the launcher is. And then a GPS filter, which uses the information from the GPS, and that's where the Kalman filter itself is implemented, and that updates the information from the IMU based on the statistics, based on an extended Kalman filter to improve the estimation of position, velocity, and attitude.
Okay.
So that's kind of the basic structure, really. And, you know, if you want, sort of, we can dive into the blocks further. But to be honest, one thing worth pointing out, and I think Marie will talk about this afternoon, is that we're now being basically told, but not by choice, by Orbex, that what they want to do is they want to change the architecture. And that instead of having, this is a model replacement, right? The IMU, you know, propagates in time with its measurements. They want us to have a plant here. They want us to create a new block. Oh, what did I do there?
A plant model of what? The IMU or the vehicle or?
Yeah, of the vehicle. Yeah. So they want, using, you know, a non-linear or possibly non-linear dynamic equations of motion, they want us to have a plant model here of the system. So what will be fed into the navigator will be TVC angles, in which you can calculate your torques, use your moments of inertia of the launch vehicle and your masses to estimate where the vehicle will be after a specific time. So what that would obviously change is that the propagation step happens with a plant model. And then you have three, or well, forgetting about Star Tracker, you then use the IMU as an update step with a filter. And then you also use the GNSS as another update step as a filter. And we do have the ability to do it for a Star Tracker too, but we need to develop that. We have the model, but we need to put it in. So one of my jobs over the next month is going to be changing the architecture, is going to be creating this plant model and changing it so that this now works not as a model replacement, but as a filter.
Okay, sounds exciting. I hope I can go with that. I mean, depends on what Maria assigns me, but yeah, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting project.
To be honest, I was thinking of doing something like this as well at some point, just based on the TVC or whatever controller commands you have, just estimating the full vehicle state and navigation. But I think definitely Matteo is the most experienced navigation person in this project. So I'm not going to question his decision.
Yeah, I think there's some concern about whether it will be I think in terms of accuracy, if you could have a perfect model, then of course having a plant model would be great. But if your plant model isn't representative of the system, then you could have issues. And I think that's Marie's concern.
Yeah, I mean, for real-time operation, You really need to strip down that plan model to possibly a bunch of second order transfer functions. So I don't know how representative they are going to be. We shall see.
Yeah. So I think the hope is that we can develop that fast enough that we can assess its accuracy and its robustness, and then sort of come back to Orbex with our findings, basically.
Yeah.
Now, within that, there's been talk about estimating biases of the IMUs. I don't know how that will change if we're now using if our propagation is now a plant model, then our update will now be with the INS processor. So I don't know whether we'll be able to if there's still the plans to estimate the biases of the IMU. What I've never done before is to have 2 update steps. I've only ever looked at having 1 update step. So maybe this is a question for you. Well, let's say we have plant model, and then we can update our position, velocity, and attitude with an IMU. Can we then, within that, when we come to our GPS update, can we try to estimate the biases of the IMU within a state vector there? Or is that going to be quite complicated? That's going to be like a nested filter.
Yeah, I get your point. It's quite convoluted, and I definitely haven't seen it done. But no, hard to say. I don't know. I don't have much experience in this area to have an educated opinion. Have you been doing navigation and implementing Kalman filters for long?
Since about February,
Okay.
when I sort of joined full time on the project, I just ended up on the navigation tasks basically.
Okay.
And Luis has quite good visibility of the navigation. He's done a bit in the past. Marie certainly understands what we've been doing, but in terms of actual implementation and technical work on the navigation in the UK, pretty much just me. So it's been mostly my sort of part of the project.
Do you have a document of what you've been doing so far? Any summary, any deliverable for Orbex summarizing the previous work on the navigation?
Yes and no. So
I saw you committing things on Confluence now and then, but I haven't had a look on that document.
yeah, it's frustrating that my Confluence doesn't seem to be loading. Is there a known issue with Confluence this morning?
Let me check. No, mine is working fine.
So can you maybe share your screen briefly?
Yes. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So
the thing that I was talking in the first place are this, which are here. And yeah, I asked Vincente for it, but he's on holiday until tomorrow. So we'll see about that.
That looks pretty good though, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Then navigation, or wherever you want it to go. Hang on. Is there anything in?
Yeah. So there we go. This is this is our project homepage. Yeah. So if you go to working space. Yeah, it's there you go, working space. GNC on the left. Then basically this is my sort of set of Confluence pages that I've been using to document things as I've done work along the time. Mostly this is just a set of, this is mostly results, to be honest. So if you go to Fez MC campaign HWKP, it's on the, probably navigating on the left hand side from the drop down menu is a bit easier.
So sub
that
folder of what?
excellent plan. Fez MC campaign hardware key point, and just go on the main folder. Yeah. Then it's kind of primarily a place to document results of simulations, basically. So to create tables to place figures for simulation cases.
Mm-hmm. But there is no design justification of any of the implementation, as for now.
There is, but it's currently not on Confluence. So I've got a overleaf document, a LaTeX document that is I've kind of put together as I've been working, that has derivations of Jacobians, explanations of the tuning, and the sort of general architecture of the navigator. Because basically, when I took over the project, the person who developed this navigation solution initially had 1 week before they left. And so there was very limited documentation about how it was working. And so I sort of decided that so that doesn't happen again, we need to have a pretty rigorous document about this model. So I've been working on that on the side. So at some point, I need to make that available.
Yeah, and do we have a company overleaf account or license as well?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I've just been using my work email address for a free account. Generally, we don't use LaTeX really. We tend to use Word and stuff. So
yeah, okay. So you're using overleaf on your own initiative.
Yeah, pretty much. I just was I fancied using a bit of LaTeX after a while. So possibly it would have been wise to do it in Word, but we'll see. So yeah, it's an ongoing kind of project really, the Navigator, which is we're trying to do things in real time to meet requirements and deadlines for Orbex, and as well create a repository and a documentation about the model that we've been creating, basically. So it's kind of all happening at the same time.
Okay. In that case, I'll start creating some Jira tasks for access to SVN. I'll email Paulo about the other meetings that I don't have invitations for, and I'll also give you 10 minutes. So I'll break until the next one. But yeah, thanks a lot for walking me through it. It's quite a bit to take in, but